farmers across Europe are staging a revolt, shutting down highways, blocking ports, and even pelting the European Parliament with eggs. Thousands of farmers have halted traffic in various cities in Belgium, France, Italy, Spain, Romania, Poland, Greece, Germany, Portugal, and the Netherlands. France has seen some of the most intense protests, some even turning violent, with 91 people arrested near Paris for disrupting traffic and causing damage.
No one protests quite like French farmers. Check out these guys protested outside government buildings, spraying those government buildings with manure.
However, others were more peaceful, with farmers giving freshly baked pastries to police. These protests echo similar ones from last year, particularly in Eastern European countries like Poland, Romania, and Bulgaria, where farmers protested against cheap Ukrainian grain imports, hurting local prices and sales. Populist parties are hoping to capitalize on farmers' frustrations for political gain, as seen in Germany, where the Alternative for Germany, or AfD party, has seen a significant rise in support, and in the Netherlands, the Farmer Citizen movement emerged from the protests against government environmental policies and became the largest party in the Dutch Senate. So why are these protests even happening? How significant are they? And what is being done by the European governments in response? Let's find out. First, let's touch on how important agriculture is to Europe. Agriculture has long been vital to Europe's economy and cultural heritage. With its rich farmland and varied climates, Europe is a key player in global food production and trade. France is renowned for its premium produce, from cultivating wheat, corn, dairy, and beef cattle farming. Spain is a significant contributor to Europe's agricultural output, known for its olives, citrus fruits, grapes, tomatoes, as well as livestock farming, including pork, beef, and poultry. Sweden is known for its wheat, barley, and oat production, as well as dairy and meat farming, with cattle, pigs, and sheep dominating the landscape. Germany is known for its wheat, barley, corn, and potatoes. Wine production thrives in the southern regions, complementing the nation's significant livestock output. Poland's agricultural sector flourishes with crops like wheat, potatoes, and sugar beets, alongside vibrant fruit and vegetable production, also known for its livestock farming. Of course, Italy, renowned for its produce, boasts a bounty of crops including tomatoes, grapes, olives, and citrus fruits. Cattle, pigs, and sheep round out Italy's agricultural sector. Romania produces wheat, maize, flour, and sugar beets, with cattle, pigs, and sheep dominating its livestock farming scene. And Greece stands tall as a producer of olives, grapes, and citrus fruits, complemented by sheep and goat farming. And this isn't the entire list. You can see how the continent's economy and its agriculture are heavily intertwined. The EU has reached a significant milestone by achieving self-sufficiency in many everyday products like wheat, olive oil, tomatoes, apples, peaches, cheese, butter, beef, pork, and chicken. This success has turned the EU into a major player in global markets. In 2022, the EU exported €229.1 billion worth of agricultural goods and imported €195.6 billion worth, resulting in a surplus of €33.4 billion. The top export category was drinks and spirits, bringing in €39 billion. But challenges remain. Extreme weather and rising temperatures threaten food security, potentially leading to more imports in the future. Additionally, some trading partners are becoming more self-sufficient and may reduce their purchases of EU-produced foods. While additional farms may seem small, collectively they wield significant influence. In 2022, the agricultural sector injected a hefty €215.5 billion into the EU economy, surpassing the total contribution of Greece, the EU's 16th largest economy. However, ongoing protests are not only disrupting the region's agricultural operations, but also posing a serious risk to transportation, which is crucial for moving goods. This disruption could potentially halt the entire supply chain, dealing a blow to the regional economy. The protests, clashes with law enforcement, shutdowns, traffic congestion, and large-scale demonstrations are poised to have a significant consequence for trade and manufacturing. Farmers are targeting port areas to disrupt logistics infrastructure, directly impacting port operations. In Belgium, for instance, farmers blocked the port of Zeebrugge for an astonishing 36 hours as part of wider protests across Europe. These actions highlight the widespread implications of the ongoing unrest, signaling potential disruptions across multiple sectors. The demonstrations not only threaten national economic stability for the countries where farming are protesting, but also have the potential to reverberate and impact the EU economy as a whole. So why are the farmers protesting across Europe? First of all, inflation. Farmers across the bloc report that the cost of energy, fertilizer, and transportation have soared, particularly in the light of Russia's war in Ukraine. Furthermore, governments have attempted to contain rising food prices in the face of inflation. According to Eurostat data, farmers' prices for agricultural products peaked in 2022 but have since declined, falling about 9% on average between the third quarter of 2022 and the same time in 2023. What this means is that although farmers are also suffering from inflation, the government is forcing them to reduce the prices of their products, making inflation double as hard for them. Second of all, unfair competition. Following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the EU lifted restrictions and taxes on Ukrainian imports. This has resulted from cheap agricultural imports from Ukraine, such as grain, sugar, and meat. But that has fueled dissatisfaction amongst European farmers, who see this as unfair competition. Farmers, notably in Eastern Europe, continue to complain about this and is on the top of their agenda. And thirdly, green policies. The anger of revolting farmers has also been directed towards Brussels over the EU's environmental targets. Currently, the farming industry accounts for 11% of EU's greenhouse gas emissions, which the EU intends to reduce by reforming its existing Common Agricultural Policy, or CAP, a nearly 60 billion annual subsidy program. The proposed measures, which are part of the European Green New Deal, aim to make the bloc climate neutral by 2050. But the changes to the CAP have clauses that farmers don't like. For instance, it requires farmers to allocate at least 4% of arable land to non-productive elements such as fallow land, which is just land put to rest to regain its fertility. They must also practice crop rotation and cut fertilizer use by at least 20%. The plan also offers the farmers to join eco-schemes and invest another 3% of their land on top of the other mandatory 4% to enhance biodiversity. This can include efforts like better nutrient management, agroecology, agroforestry, carbon farming, or animal welfare. So no wonder farmers are protesting because they don't want to give 7% of their arable land away. Similarly, there is an energy transition wave in Europe where countries are phasing in eco-friendly energy, but it once again hurts the farmers who use diesel-run machines on their farms. For example, in France, the government's intention to phase away a tax credit for farmers on diesel fuel as part of a larger energy transition has added to the outrage. But if governments are only telling farmers to take care of the environment so they can be farmers in the future, then does it mean that the protests are just unnecessary outrage? While many of the protests are motivated by outrage at economic, regulatory, and environmental policy, each country has its own set of concerns. Farmers in Germany are protesting Berlin's intention to phase out tax incentives on agricultural diesel to balance the budget, claiming that doing so will bankrupt them. Farmers in the Netherlands are rioting over a need to limit nitrogen emissions. The Farmers' Union in France are dissatisfied with President Emmanuel Macron's concessions and are advocating for higher wages, less bureaucracy, and protection from international competition. And on the other hand, the war in Ukraine has only exacerbated the situation by disrupting trade flows and raising farmers' expenses for electricity, fertilizer, and transportation in several European nations. Which brings us to the question that, is the farmers' protest just and should the people support them? It doesn't take a professional political observer or analyst to notice that a record number of European farmers have taken to the streets. The farmers are attempting to seize the political opportunity presented by this super electoral year. This is the perfect time to vent their frustrations and persuade lawmakers to listen what they have to say. Therefore, you can't be too harsh in denouncing their practices, even if they are causing problems in many European towns and capitals. Many European farmers, particularly smallholders and those who work on family farms, are suffering. For them, this activity is an extension of their identity, and they are finding it increasingly difficult to exist economically in a world where every input is becoming more expensive, causing them to decrease margins to the point where profit is impossible. It would be a mistake to focus simply on the protest repertoires, on what farmers can do to make their claims more convincing and vivid for people who see it and are in some way touched by the protests. Instead, more emphasis on small farms, family enterprises, and how Europe can protect and improve its food security are all part of the serious discussion that should take place on Europe's main streets, from Brussels to Bucharest, Paris to Rome, to balance climate-friendly policies with optimal agricultural production. It is definitely challenging, but not impossible. It requires a multifaceted approach that considers the complex interplay between environmental sustainability, agricultural productivity, and socioeconomic factors. Perhaps the farmers can first be given alternatives before just imposing policies on them. Investing in research and innovation can lead to the development of climate-resilient crop varieties, improved irrigation systems, and advanced farming technologies that boost productivity while mitigating environmental harm. And simple collaboration and knowledge sharing among stakeholders, including farmers, policymakers, researchers, and civil society, can create synergies between agricultural production and climate goals. While challenges remain, achieving a balance between climate-friendly policies and optimal agricultural production is feasible through concerted efforts, innovative solutions, and collective action. But is the EU taking any of these reconciliatory steps? At the EU level, on January 31st, Brussels announced a delay in rules requiring farmers to set aside land to promote soil health and biodiversity. The European Commission exempted EU farmers from the requirement to leave a minimum portion of their land fallow while enabling them to receive accompanying subsidies. The Commission also announced that it will extend the suspension of import taxes on European exports for another year to June 2025. At the individual country level, Berlin has largely reversed its intention to remove diesel subsidies, which were announced last month. Watering down its original plan, the government announced that a car tax exemption for farming vehicles would be preserved, while diesel tax advantages would be phased out over 3 years. Many farmers, however, are advocating for a total reversal. Greece stated that it would extend a special tax discount on agricultural diesel for 1 year in response to requests from farmers who lost crops and cattle due to devastating flooding. France revealed a variety of farmer-friendly policies in response to the demonstrations. To protect farmers from unfair competition, newly appointed Prime Minister Gabriel Attal promised to maintain food sovereignty and boost checks on food imports that don't respect our rules at a European and French level. So it looks like the Green New Deal is slowly becoming the same old deal, as governments are giving concessions to farmers as a result of their protests. But the protests are still continuing along with the clash between the farmers and the governments. In short, last summer and autumn, Europe was hit hard by floods and wildfires, causing severe damage to forests and agriculture. As a result, many farmers lost their cattle and crops, incurring significant financial losses. Before Europe had a chance to recover from the economic repercussions, the farmers' actions further compounded the problems by burdening individual countries' economic infrastructure and minimizing the possibility of the agricultural infrastructure's recovery. The longer the protests run, the greater damage they can cause to the EU economy. It seems the only way to bridge the gap is for the EU to come to an agreement with the farmers, ensuring fair prices for the farmers so that the transition to a green economy is smooth and steady. Don't you think that farmers deserve to be given fair income security so that they too can benefit from the vision of the EU's Green Deal? So, what's your perspective on the farmers' protest? Do you think that it's all justified? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks, and we will catch you next time.